สวัสดีค่ะ Welcome back everyone One more time a big round of applause ขอบคุณค่ะ So this sessions will be strategies for hotel chains So please allow me to invite all of you who see that at the back come forward to the front a little bit so you can see the speaker more clearly. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Our afternoon session will begin with a focus on how large-scale hotel chains can drive impact. So please welcome our moderator, Ms. Koko Tang, co-founder, Vinetree Tourism, founder, Colorful Earth, GSTC board members. And she is joined by our expert panelists. The first one, Executive Director, Phuket Hotels Association, Ms. Jayne MacDougall. And come together with Cluster General Manager, Hilton Hotels, Mr. Ehmann. Together with Chief Sustainability and Security Officer, Radisson Hotel Group, Ms. Inge Huijbrechts. And our last panelist is Managing Director of Operations, BWH Hotels, Mr. Fraser, McKenzie. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Please take a seat. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Koko. I'm very pleased to moderate this very interesting panel, and thank you very much for coming back to us after quick lunch. And I had to step in because Roy is not feeling well today. So, but very importantly, we have a very great panel here. So our session today is titled "Getting Everyone on Board: Strategies for Hotel Chains." I'm thinking it's exactly the right conversation we're having in the hospitality this moment, because across all sectors, sustainability is no longer a side project. It is no longer something handled only by the corporate CSR team. But it's also not only about publishing commitment, the question is now more operational. How do we translate ambitions into consistent actions across dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of hotels in very different markets, different regions, with different owners, teams, capacities, compliance requirements, and even starting points? Because this is where the real work actually begins. It is one thing to set the targets at quarter, but it's probably another thing entirely to make sustainability understandable, practical, measurable, and accountable at a property level. And it's even harder to do while balancing business performance, guest expectation, our owners' priority, local reliability, and staff engagement. This is also why external verification has become increasingly important. In a market full of sustainability claims, hotel travel buyers, investors, and guests are increasingly asking for evidence. They want to know not only what a brand has been doing about telling us sustainable stories, but most importantly, where there are systems, data support, evidence, and credible verification behind it. And so, when we say getting everyone on board, we're really talking about several things at once. We're talking about, as this morning, that our another panel talking about the leadership commitment from top. That's very important. We're talking about clear standards and systems that create consistency across portfolio. That's also the questions we'll be talking about today. And we're talking about training, capacity building, and champions and cultures at property level can help our hotels operate on a day-to-day basis. And also, we're also talking about measurement and transparency without, of course, with data and then tracking. And we are talking about external verification, making sure the claims are credible, trustworthy as well. Today, we have our valuable panels because we have 4 different but highly complementary perspectives on exactly everything we're talking about today. We're here from Inge, who will show how Radisson has been using a structured, responsible business program, training targets and internal champions to bring hotel along the journey. We'll be here from Fraser, from BHW Hotels, speaking about how BHW in Asia has worked across its portfolio to achieve GST certification. with a very strong focus on engagement, standardization, education, environment, and monitoring. We will hear from Chris from Hilton, who will reflect on Hilton's long-standing lifestyle platform and broader brand standards help translating sustainability from strategy into day-to-day operations. And we will hear from Jayne from Phuket Hotel Association, who brings a very, very important collective perspective, how association can convene, support, and motivate hotels through peer learning, shared tours, practical guidance, and wider movement towards stronger sustainability performance and certification readiness. So, without further ado, let's welcome our first speaker, Inge.
Thank you, Koko. And hello, everyone. So I'm based in Brussels in the headquarters of Radisson. And I'm going to be speaking from a headquarter perspective, how we drive our sustainability and responsible business top down, but also what tools, trainings, and engagement structures we create to also have that bottom-up movement in the company where the best ideas often also come from the people in our hotels, because that's where the business happens. So I've chosen two things to speak about. Of course, you have to imagine we are about 1,000 hotels. There can be big hotels with 1,000 rooms with lots of F&B, but there's also small boutique hotels, resorts, a lot of variety that we all know in hospitality. So to bring everybody in that kind of structure along, we do a few things. And at Radisson, one of the key things we do is that we integrate responsible business, sustainability, in the value proposition, because that is what, of course, our general managers around the world and our teams are focused on, our core business. And if we integrate it in the guest experience and in the value proposition, then we give them actually a lot of tools to do it in operations. So let me talk about that first. How do we engage everyone? And we do that with a pathway. You see, it's a winding path because the route to more sustainability is not always easy, and that path has a number of levels. So we give our hotels steps to become more and more and more sustainable with verified or certified eco-labels. And the first step is Hotel Sustainability Basics. That's actually a kind of entry-level verified system in the industry with 12 criteria that all the hotels can do. The next step up is a big jump, because you go from 12 criteria to actually a good certified standard like the GSTC. So when hotels evolve, we tell them you have to evolve, you have to get better every time. So the next step is actually a GSTC or a Green Key eco-label. The next level up is something we're very proud to have done, because we have actually pioneered a verified net zero program for hotels. So last year, we launched 2 verified net zero hotels. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But these are hotels who incorporate scope 1, 2, and 3 in their decarbonization, and then have the mechanism verified by a third party. The vision is to be net positive. I don't yet have the answer on how to be a net positive hotel. If you do, come talk to me, because I'm sure we can learn from each other. As I said in the beginning, it's a big jump from basics to a GSTC. So together in the industry, we are now talking about an intermediate level of Hotel Sustainability Basics Plus. And all our hotels know that we want all the hotels to be at least on one of those levels. So we give them the road book, if you want, to get better on sustainability. When I said we're integrating it into the value proposition, it means we're also making it visible. So we give our hotels the possibility, when they are on one of these levels, we feature it on our website, we feature it, if you're talking about verified net zero hotels, we even feature it in the hotel name. And at that ultimate very good level, we see that we have 70% brand awareness in the verified net zero hotels, and that post-stay, so when we ask the guests when they check out, in the guest satisfaction survey, 25% of the guests say that they book those hotels because they are verified net zero. So these are drivers which actually make our GMs very interested in a program like that. We also highlight sustainable stays on our website, and we did A/B testing, and it actually increases conversion in selected countries by a few percentages. So also that is a revenue driver. And then I want to talk about a program that we've been doing for a long, long time and integrating it into our guest value proposition, which is 100% carbon compensated meeting and events. So it's targeting the MICE clients, the business clients, the corporate clients with carbon compensated meetings for events across the world. Also, that was something that we gave to our teams to act on sustainability, but then also talk about the sustainability to their clients. And then we do programs across the board, like offering green mobility, EV charging, and working with transportation companies that work with EV cars. So these kind of things are actually what our hotels really like, because then you give them concrete actions that they are part of, that they can participate in, and we made any step of that pathway a brand standard. So all our hotels have to be on one of the steps. And then finally, of course, this is top-down. We tell all the hotels, this is your pathway to more sustainability. You all have to get on it. And once you're on it, you need to get better and better and better. It's important to also engage everyone, because, as I said, the best ideas often come from the hotels themselves. So how do we do that? We have different trainings. So when people come on board with Radisson, as part of a new hire orientation, responsible business is part of it. We call it Think, because our program is called Think People, Think Community, Think Planet. And then they follow a training. For the leaders, it's called Leading Responsible Business, and for everyone in the teams, it's called Living Responsible Business. Living Responsible Business has been translated in more than 15 languages. So it's really something that goes to the teams. We also create a network of champions, and some of those former champions are actually in the room. So we create a network of former champions. We ask in every hotel that every hotel has an ambassador, and then these ambassadors form a network with a regional or national champions. We have 42 of those in the world, and they actually come up with great ideas for us in the central team as well. Finally, as I said, we have a target of 100% sustainable stays. We also have a decarbonization target. That's a much more technical journey that we are on to decarbonize our hotels by 2050. And what we do there is we have a yearly campaign, because as you can imagine, decarbonizing is very technical, it's very complex. So we do a campaign to make it more tangible for all our hotels. We have 1,000 hotels in operation. Our Move to Zero campaign was a big success last year. We got 2,500 engagement actions from our 1,000 hotels around the world. So we did bring it to them, and we did get them engaged. So these are just some initial thoughts on how we are rolling out sustainability at Radisson. Thank you.
Thank you, Inge. I think it's very inspiring, starting from the pathway and different ways to empower the team and having the championship, and same time have a very specific topic-wise, like carbon neutrality, about net zero, and how we hit the target, particularly had the validated SBI target. Very, very powerful and inspiring. And just to remind everyone, if you have questions for our panelists, please use Slido to submit your questions. We are in the Royal Grand Ballroom, so please do ask questions if you think that you have anyone for the panelists. We have about 40 minutes Q&A session at the end of the panel. So we will have chance to engage with our panelists. Thank you, Inge. Now we have our second speaker, Fraser, right? So yes, please.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for GSTC for inviting us here and being part of the panel. It's a bit like a secret shopper where you go and you fill out your name. Whilst you pay for it, you still win. And that's a value proposition, isn't it? I believe there's two value propositions here. One is we get to highlight our own companies, but the second and probably the most valuable is that we get to interact and understand what other people are doing, how other people are operating, and we get to blend that into our own operations. I was really engaged with your presentation. Thank you. It was really good. Very good. So BWH hotels, there's about 50% of the people in the room that don't actually know what or who BWH hotels are. So BWH is the umbrella company over World Hotels, Best Western Hotels and Resorts, and that's starting to flash, and Shore Stay, as well as Shore Stay proposition. So we have around about 4,300 hotels globally, about 100 through Asia and through Australasia. There's about 100 as well. So we've got a few properties around the place. What I'm going to talk to you about, other than grandstanding the 18 brands and 4,300 rooms across 100 countries, we're actually going to be talking about what we're doing with GSTC and how we got there, because the company itself has had an amazing achievement. And in fact, through Asia, we have 100% compliance from audited programs with GSTC. And we started with EPC, which is our Earth, People and Community. Sorry, actually, I might highlight, I've only been in the job for 8 weeks. So I'm a bit of I wouldn't say a fraud, but I'm a bit of a pretender. And I actually have the two guys who have led the program are in the audience tonight. So, or this afternoon, Kunbert and Kurbuddy. So amazing job, guys. I'm not taking anything away from you. I just know that you didn't want to be sitting up here in front of the rest of the people. So we started off with our Earth, People and Community. And of course, with Earth being the focus on reducing our environmental impact and protecting our environment, so operating hotels in a more sustainable way. And that actually, there's value in that, taking for you, Inge, the value proposition of operating your hotel in a sustainable manner, I will come to a bit further at the end. From people focus, it's supporting diversity and our employees and building an inclusive culture that supports our people. Community, of course, is either giving back or strengthening and supporting our local communities. From a program background, when it says resolved in brief, one of the other interesting things about BWH is that we are not a public listed company and we don't have an owning family or a group of people that, we do have a group of people that own us. It's actually the hotel owners. Through North America, we have our global board, of which there are 7 members, and there are 7 areas or districts within North America. And so each of those districts elects a hotel owner to be on the board of BWH. So when we make a board decision, or when we have a board decision made, it's already ratified by more than half of the hotel owners globally. So that actually makes it a lot simpler for us to move things through and get things across the line. So when I said resolved in brief, that all hotels would be GSTC compliant by the end of 2026. Was quite a grand challenge. And in actual fact, the way that we were to do that was we were to put that as new categories in our own hotel assessment program that we have operating. Sorry, it's the 8-week blank I just had. So 5 key steps to success, which we'll go through a little bit in detail. Engagement, standardized the program. We had to educate people. All of these are common sense, really, and then, of course, we have to measure them. And we have a very good partner in that, in Hotel Zero, to measure and monitor. So that's another 5% discount. For engagement, we adopted a multi-site a certification approach, which puts the ownership not only on individual hotels to comply or adhere to our programs, but also there's that group ownership. So people are there to help. And we saw a lot of that as well, from one hotel to another, getting best practice and moving that out throughout our region. And I'm talking specifically about Asia, which stretches from, for us, Pakistan, all the way up to Japan, down through Philippines, Indonesia. We provided a structured guidelines aligned with GSTC criteria. So these included our corporate policies, as well as our standardized templates. So we knew that we had to go out to our hotels with something that was readily usable for them. Education. Our assessment team spent a lot of their time educating. Not only did they do brand standards, but they also doing our environmental and sustainable brand standards as well. So training is a key component. And for both sustainability training for new and existing hotels. So recently we had our 9 hotels audited through Indonesia, and obviously they did well and they passed. We're happy to, which brings us to 100% through that region. And we make sure that we audit our new hotels as they come online. We utilised Hotel Zero as our measurement partnership here to track the sustainability, to track the criteria, and what was happening. And we, of course, were able to use it for our other key indicators for our businesses as well. One of the things to note for the businesses, look, I had a GM who came to me, and I know that he was skeptical about it. I have known him for a number of years. He was skeptical about what was happening. And one of the great things that came from it is he came to me and said, "Do you know what? I have cut my rubbish collection in half." And whilst for most people that's not very exciting, but for that hotel GM, that meant that he could have 2 guest-facing employees, 2 more guest-facing employees, which means his GSS or medallia or guest questionnaire scores increased. And as we know as hoteliers, when you increase your customer scores, your revenue increases and your profitability increases. So this stuff, it's just rubbish, but rubbish for gold. Monitoring, again, Hotel Zero, and complementing by our audit teams going through. And our audit teams are in-house. Yes, we're audited by BV as our partner for GSTC, but we have our own audit team for standards through BWH. And through mock audits beforehand and even pre-opening, we're able to lift that awareness and the participation rates at the hotel. So, as we said, as of halfway through last year, all of the 63 hotels in Asia were certified. So what that was missing, the 63 leading up to almost 100 hotels through Asia, were the new opening hotels or hotels that had been open for less than 6 months, as well as our world hotels, because that was the Best Western. So world hotels have now aligned as well, and fortunately we just had our last world hotel in Bangkok, Carlton Hotel, who's just been certified as well. So very pleased with that.
Yeah, of course. Great job.
And that's about it for me.
Thank you.
We've got some much more interesting people to listen to.
It's a very amazing job. Thank you very much, Fraser, for this wonderful speech. I think it's a lot of inspiration that we can get from here, particularly multi-site certification and internal auditing. Those are very, very interesting points that we can come back to you later on. So welcome our next speaker, Chris, please.
Thanks very much. Again, thank you very much for having me here and inviting me. I have to extend a thank you to Fraser and Best Western because I attended this meeting in Singapore, actually, with very little knowledge about GSTC. I am the Regional General Manager for New Zealand, and we're part of Australasia for Hilton Hotels. And after attending, actually, this seminar, Best Western presented on how they were moving over to GSTC and planning to move their 100 hotels. At that time, they had 0, I think. And I went back to Australasia and was really inspired to see what can we do for our hotels to get us GSTC certified. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. I just thought my purpose is really to tell you a little bit about that journey that we have done in Australasia to get ourselves from not working with GSTC to having all of our hotels across and certified. So as all of our hotels and businesses that are joining this seminar today, it's really about Travel with Purpose is our strategy behind that, but we all have different strategies of how we're going to become more compliant and more aware and more focused on the things that are important. So we've had that strategy now for a couple of years. We call it Travel with Purpose, and it's really just about around people, hotels, and communities. So it really just encompasses, in a very loose format, the things that we're going to be talking about while we're here at the seminar. We've been on that journey for a while. We started in 2008, which coincidentally is the same time that the UN started with GSTC. So we were really looking to build a framework that we could work on that looks at the energy, waste, and water. It looks at what we're doing for communities and really just sets up a platform of something that we can work towards. We were very fortunate at that time. They had the foresight to build a platform. So with our 7,000 hotels across the world today, we all use a platform called LightStay, and that's where we continuously record and monitor our hotel performance. So I think we're probably one of the most rich in data hotel chains with this information, and it's really starting to help us drive our business and manage our business in a better way. It's estimated that we've probably saved around $1.4 billion across the estate just by having this information and using it to move us forward. We also, of course, have brand standards, which we all do in our businesses, and those are also continuously evolving of how we can put that into our business to get better. So LightStay started as a recording system. As you can see, those are some of the informations that we're putting in there. It started just by the recording, but now as the data becomes richer, we are able to help ourselves make good business decisions. We're using the system now to set up targets of where we want to get to and by when. And best of all, with the 7,000 hotels, you can find similar hotel sizes and businesses that we can start making comparisons to and really using that rich data to become better at what we're trying to achieve. That said, that was all designed and developed by Hilton, but together with GSTC, we've worked alongside and we've seen a lot of similarities to the things that we're doing together. So we wanted to take that then from something that we do as Hilton to something that is certified. So following that meeting that I was here in 2023, we really put that to the test. So again, we're talking about Hotel Zero, so I will give Jason a shout out again for Hotel Zero. We obviously wanted to roll this out to a number of hotels, so we were trying to find some advantages of how to do that, and Hotel Zero was one of those platforms. So we saw that there's a lot of alignment to what we're doing in GSTC, so sustainable management, social, economic, cultural, and environmental impacts. Those are all things that we were tracking. With that said, in terms of having an audit done for GSTC, there's a lot of documentation and historical information that's required, and that's why we really went to Jason for Hotel Zero, which was a perfect platform for us. It's somewhere that we could store all of that knowledge, and for us trying to roll it out over a number of hotels, it also allowed us to replicate that information quite quickly. So since we do have global standards and standing operating procedures, we were able to load in a lot of those corporate standards, so we can now start a hotel at probably 40 to 50% completion, so that they can just finalize the last stages of that. So thank you, Jason, for providing us that. So yeah, we started that journey in 2023. We now successfully have all of Australasia certified. We're working with Control Union, who is our auditing company. So they've come down last year and they've gone through all the hotels in New Zealand. So for those of you, if you're here, that did the training for becoming an auditor, I would love it if you came down to Australasia, because at the moment there are no auditors in Australasia, so it'd be really helpful for us. So we're continuing that journey. So as you may know, the certification is a 3-year cycle. We need to do 1/3 of the hotels each year. So New Zealand kicked it off for us last year. This year we're starting to work our way through Australia and continuing on that journey. So we're getting there. We are certified now, but we're still getting the rest of the hotels through that space. The big learnings for me probably would be measurement and standardization is probably the easiest part of what we need to do. It's a bit of a journey to get that completed and up to speed. However, that's really the easy part, to be honest with you, because what you need to do is then move that into the cultural aspect of the business. And I think that GSTC is a great system to do that in terms of as you ramp up to prepare for that, you need to really draw on everyone within the hotel business to use their skills and expertise to get you to the right standard. But it also engages the rest of the team members. And once the audit comes through, the team that we had for our hotels in Australasia were very engaging and really brought the rest of the team into that fold. We do have, similar to what was just stated as well, champions for every hotel. So we've got a lot of working groups within the hotels to help drive that through the team. And it's really the culture that's going to make that difference. And my experience so far with the current people that we're employing, they're very, very focused on environmental. A lot of things that I was thinking would be a challenge to implement, they're really quick to pick that up and really engage to make those things move forward. So it's not as difficult as it may seem at the beginning, but the cultural aspect is really what's the most important from my perspective. And the last thing is tourism and hospitality, massive, massive business. It's, I think, the first or second industry for New Zealand. So it's really an industry that can have a massive impact within the world today and where we're trying to go. So I'm hoping that as I was inspired by Best Western to do something in Australasia, I really hope that we all leave here to inspire others to kind of start this journey if we haven't already, and really get critical mass to make that happen. I think for us down under, we're a little bit behind Europe in that space, but I think it's really gaining momentum, and I'm really excited about the future. So looking forward.
Thank you very much, Grace.
Thank you.
Thank you. Round of applause. Great. Now I pass the floor to Jayne.
Thank you very much. And it's a great pleasure for Phuket Hotels to be on the stage here today. We're very happy to be here. There we go. So, first of all, just quickly, what we see the role of a hotel association is being a united voice for hotels and a real hub for collaboration and innovation, as well as being a bridge between hotels, communities, government, and the global stage. Our association, not all associations are the same. Our association is a non-profit association, and we're made up of 114 member hotels in Phuket and Panga. For us, sustainability is a prerequisite. We ask all our hotel members to be committed to sustainability as a condition of becoming a member. So this is a very important part of our association's DNA. We run an annual event which is becoming more and more well known through the world, I think, but mainly in Southeast Asia. And it's the FIST event, which is Phuket Hotels for Island Sustaining Tourism. It's a learning event as well as an expo, and it brings together hotels, it brings together experts, such as the GSTC conference does as well, suppliers, people that are selling solutions or products that have a sustainability role and are a tourism or travel-related item, as well as community. So it brings us all together and it gets us inspired, and that's the point of the FIST event. So just for you to put in your calendars, if you have your calendar handy, 7th of September, keep it ready, keep it reserved so that you can join us for the FIST event. It's bound to be a highlight of the year. So What we've done as an association is we have focused over the last years on different aspects of sustainability, and this year we've focused on getting hotels ready for certification. So we have Green Champions, as you can see, many different organisations have as well. And we focus, those Green Champions is one per hotel, and this is somebody who is selected by the general manager for the role. They could be a chief engineer, they could be the PA for the general manager, they might be anybody in the organisation and not necessarily the person who is called sustainability manager if they have one. So it's a selected person. We run a lot of trainings and a lot of activities for peer-to-peer collaboration to bring these Green Champions closer to their peers so they can share ideas and they can share inspiration, and when they get a piece of equipment or do a particular type of activity, they can tell others about it. This is what I experienced, these were the good things, the not so good things, so that each hotel can make better decisions. Our Green Champions are non-competitive, we're all working towards the same thing, and by the way, happy Earth Day to everybody. Today, our members are out cleaning beaches and doing activities all over the island. So they're doing this collaboratively with the local governments and the local schools and local organisations. We also create a lot of toolboxes and things that are for sharing. Some of our hotels have very advanced systems already in place, and others have very little. So the toolboxes that we develop, and also develop in collaboration with universities and other activities that we have, they can be shared freely for those hotels that need them. And the FIST event, I said, brings us all together. We start at the top, and I think this is a theme with GSTC2. It must begin with the general manager, it must begin with the hotel owner saying, sustainability is important to us, with clear communication, clear commitments, measurable things. So in March at our general managers meeting, where we had about 60 plus members of our representatives there, our hotel general managers signed pledges to do the GSTC 4-module training. Whether their hotel was certified or not, they signed this pledge to do the free training that's available, a minimum of one person per hotel. Some hotels we've got 15 to 20 certificates from already, and we've only introduced it a few weeks ago. We started a partnership agreement with Greenview, who offered an exclusive deal to our members to help them with advisory, measurement, tracking and reporting. They also offer different kinds of levels of commitment for hotels that need it. If our member hotels don't need this support, they don't need to take advantage of this, but it's available for them at a very good rate to support them. We also got a lot of help from the GSTC to find a trainer so that we could do professional certificate training with representatives from our hotels. It took some time to find a sponsor for this, and we were eventually very lucky that Booking.com came forward and sponsored our Green Champions to do the professional certificate training. And this was a really big help for us. It helps us build capacity and credibility. And then I've worked with different GSTC audit bodies to try to get some special commitment from them that will be useful and beneficial and workable for our member hotels if they want to take that step. So we have, you can see, we're working across a whole lot of different areas to try to create a situation that is going to assist and support our member hotels, keep prices down, make it easy to move forward with their sustainability. So our audit, sometimes the audit partnerships offer a better price, sometimes they offer add-ons and training and other things that will be useful. So our challenges and opportunities are that we've got all different kinds of hotels, and they're all at different levels of sustainability. But we found what works was our hotels to have clear targets and timelines for action, to have a really good buy-in at all levels of the organisation, to have practical tools and simple solutions that people could use, and to share our stories of success with each other. In a nutshell, it's about bringing people on the journey. We needed a whole community, a whole lot of organisations to make this happen. Certification isn't the goal, but it's a tool to get hotels where they want to go. And start where you are, but start with structure and start with accountability. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Jayne. And I was very honored to attend the Several Fest event. It was really, really amazing and a very fun event as well. So it's really a learning opportunity. So encourage everyone, if you haven't done it, please sign up for the September event for Fest. Thank you very much, Jayne. And apart from our group discussion, you heard everybody speaking about their own pathway. But if you look at the common ground, so everybody has probably a different pathway, but all talking about people, starting from the top-down commitment, from the foundation about how the property managers and then frontline staff understand about how important sustainability really is. And at the group level, we have a very practical tools like LifeStay to how to use and help to empower people. And also we have the culture that all external partners like Greenview from the FIS and then Booking.com to sponsor the trainings and capacity buildings. And we have standards to safeguard everybody's pathway, starting from the Basics Mix Plus, GST certification, and even SBTI validation of the net zero. And also, we recognize the successful, and particularly Fraser has all of the hotels in Asia certified by GSTC, so which is, I think, is very, very inspiring things. So thank you very much for all of the panelists again. Let's just give them a one-on-one applause. Thank you. So now it's time for Q&A, and if you have questions you want to ask our panelists, please use Slido to submit your questions. I do have some questions on the Slido, but I will ask the questions from the Slido first. And yes, if our colleagues can bring up the questions on our screen, that will be great as well. Thank you. So the first question about staff engagement. Don't really say this question's for whom, but I think maybe we can start with Inge first. About the staff engagement is quite challenging. What incentives have been most effective in driving staff participation? Can you share some examples?
What we do a lot in staff engagement is create months where everybody in the company works on a certain theme. So for example, now in June, we have our Community Action Month coming up, where we actually give suggestions to our hotels, and we mobilize the community, and then we create follow-up throughout the month of what everyone is doing in that particular month to engage with their communities. And we support that to make it easy for the hotels. We make it easy for the hotels to participate because we suggest things that they can do. We make it easy for them to communicate about it because they have communication tools for it. And then we also drive it from the top. So throughout that month, we do things in our headquarters, in our area offices. We have our leadership involved. Everyone's part of it, and everyone sees that as well. So we do that with the Community Action Month, and we do it with what I was saying about the Move to Zero campaign on the decarbonization journey. So that works really well because everyone feels that they are part of the same movement, under a same theme, working together. They see each other, the examples, they share examples, and very often hotels work together. For example, all our hotels in India work on one particular fundraising activity for the community. I must say, we don't use it that much anymore, but for the first 5 years of our energy and environmental program, we had a mascot. And the mascot was called Lumi. Lumi is a firefly, and Lumi was everywhere. So we also, at that point, we don't use it now, but it was very successful when we were a bit smaller. So we sent actually Lumis to every hotel, and we created very fun engagement activities around the use of Lumi as a mascot. So Lumi was, everybody loved Lumi. Lumi was everywhere, and people started really communicating about what they were doing using that mascot. So that was also something very tangible that helped us in the first 5 years of our program to reduce our energy intensity by more than 25%. So it worked.
Great. Very interesting. I think that's you mentioned about the different pathway. I really like the pathway, how you describe different stages. And talking about staff engagement, do you think that because the staff probably have some kind of different understanding about sustainability as well? Do you have different approach to them with different training courses, and do you have different particularly different steps pathway for staff engagement?
Well, we have our different training levels. So everybody gets an intro training as part of a new hire orientation. For the leadership teams, they have an online training. It's 1.5 hours about what our program is about, what our targets are. And then the living responsible business is really a classroom training that is 2.5 hours that people take in their own language, trained by someone in the team. And every hotel goes through a living responsible business cycle every year. So that's how you get these high numbers of engagement. We have 76% of our teams which have taken the training, which is quite good.
Great. Thank you, Inge. I have another question here from Thomas. What is the role? I think it's Thomas from Booking, right? So, yeah. Hi, Thomas. What is the role of OTA supporting your sustainability strategies? I'm not sure, Thomas, which questions. For everyone. Okay. Yeah. Probably. Fraser, do you want to?
Well, obviously, the relationship between OTAs and hotels is complicated at times, but I think you hit the nail on the head when you said supporting. I think both entities are able to support each other in that practice. OTAs have massive reach. Booking is across all of our properties, all of our entities, and for me, BWH is with you independently. So if you look at it from that perspective, it's that communication and ongoing communication. So when you have a little icon on your OTA listing, people are able and aware that you are supporting an ESG program, or when you have it on your own website, then it is in support. So it is about that communication. It's about that awareness and building the awareness across not only our own platforms, but across other platforms and across OTA.
Yeah. Chris, do you have anything?
Yeah. I think maybe to add to that, this question kind of rolls into the first one as well about culture. Culture is a common understanding or a common belief. And I think that's all around communication. So to motivate your teams and what OTAs are doing for us is, I think we look at ourselves very much as being educators.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about carbon offsetting meetings. So you've got a meeting. Maybe they come to your hotel. They're not knowledgeable in that space, so they're not interested in that space. But they come to your hotel, and we did something very similar. And you start educating them, even at the booking time already. You're saying, listen, you're going to have a meeting with us. We're going to make it a carbon neutral meeting, is what we were doing in Hilton, but similar in other brands. So you start the education process at the point of sale already to the client about the importance that you have as an industry or as a brand around sustainability. So I think a lot of that comes just through constant communication. It's how you motivate your teams. We talked about halving your garbage going to landfill. I mean, whether you're interested or not, that's interesting. If you talk about those things at work and you talk about those successes at work, people will become more interested. So OTAs are stepping up now. I know that they're looking at their algorithms so that they work differently for people that are in this space. But I think it's always about constantly talking about it, constantly bringing it top of mind. So I do think they play a big role. We just saw some slides from Radisson where your carbon zero hotel, I mean, it's interesting and it draws attention. So I think just by constantly bringing it up and discussing it, it will move the industry. And hospitality and tourism, that's all people do these days, right? We all yearn to go on our next holiday, to our next place. So we're in a perfect position to really be the educators of society about the importance and how they can join us in making it better.
Yeah, thank you, Grace. Thomas, I hope you got the answers. Great. So the next question to all. Okay, how do you calculate the return on investment, ROI, before getting certified? And how do the group level convince the GM at the property level or the owners of property about this? I think Fraser already answered part of that through your the structures. I think it's very interesting. Do you want to bring that back again? But I would definitely move to
I'm
that.
quite happy to, and it's quite blatant when you present that ROI to GMs, and certainly GMs are a lot easier to convince than owners at times. However, we have tangible information. When I take back to when I was dealing in a very similar environment 15 years ago, we just didn't have the information to hand. But now we have a lot of information, thanks to Hotel Zero, our partners in information collection. But we have a lot of information ready and at hand, so we can tangibly show where you're saving on water, where industries are paying for water, where you're saving on electricity, and those savings have been generated by the processes that we have in place. So from what was an intangible and a difficult environment has actually become a lot clearer for us now. I don't know, some of our other partners here have even more information.
Yeah, it's not just about getting certified. It's about the overall saving and how effective
it really is a business prospect for us. And one of the phrases
is not
is,
the goal. Yeah.
if you're not doing it, then how can you be an effective general manager? Why is your business not doing it?
Can I add one more question about the multi-site certification? I think it's very interesting about how you persuade the GM level to go for a multiple site certification, because you already mentioned on your slides, I was reading your slides about if you fail, one property fail, you actually failed the whole multiple site certification. So you had to persuade every GM to go for those ones. Do you have to persuade them, or is that going to be is that any kind of challenges?
Koko, no, that was actually relatively easy. That was more of a direction than a request. So we took it as a region, we took it collectively, rather than going out and providing an election basis for them to join as one group.
Great, never challenges for you. Really
I
good.
think you also, getting certified is just a step, right? It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Right?
Yes.
So getting certified is not the end of the,
Of course, it's not the goal.
So it's a mindset.
Yeah, great.
And maybe on the ROI, what I use a lot when I talk to our teams is, of course, we mandate that they are somewhere on the pathway, as I said, so that they take some kind of verification as a minimum. But often I say, you are doing things already. You are doing things, but you cannot bring that to your customer in a structured way, and you're not in a system to get better all the time. So I think those two elements of being on a pathway of getting better all the time because you have a certification, and secondly, the fact that you can have it in your customer communication in a very straightforward way.
Yeah.
You are GSTC certified, you are HSB verified. Those kind of things then are easier to explain to the customer and build on what the hotel is already doing.
Yeah, great. Actually, there's a follow-up questions on that. Reading it, through Europe is far away, how have strategies recently changed to meet the EU empowering consumers for green transition directive, I think ECGT. So Inge, I think that's a question for you.
Of course, the empowering consumers for the green transition is an important directive that will, in Europe, has to be implemented by September. The key thing is that you offer transparency by a reliable body. That's more or less what it is. And I think that is the key thing that consumers demand anyway. So it is helping. GSTC was in the framework of the directive for a long time already. But other levels of verification, for example, in Hostel Sustainability Basics, we will need to take some steps to make that governance more clear, to be able to use it still in Europe. So I think it's forcing schemes and verification bodies to come into a very well-governed system, so that consumers know when we see a verification, when we see a certification in Europe, we know we can trust it because there's a directive that tells certification bodies how to govern,
Yeah.
basically.
I like the concept. It's not just about Europe. Globally, you need this rigor and credible and trustworthy system, and making sure that every single sustainability-related claim are trustworthy, particularly to consumers, corporate buyers, investors, everyone. Jayne, I think there's a question I think I really want to ask you, because there are so many members in your organizations talking about sustainability, and you mentioned several of them are at the starting stage, but some of them are very advanced. Is there any kind of sustainability initiative that you see your members tried out that didn't work, and what your thinking would be learning from that?
So actually thinking more of the broader scope, because we do a lot of activities together as a group, I'd just like to mention what I think didn't work as well as we thought it would be, which is getting everyone together doing one activity. And it might be something like doing a green day and getting the local government involved and doing this all together as a big group in one place. So this is the way we started to do this, and it did work. It wasn't a failure. However, it worked a lot better when we got people to do their individual cleans or their local area clean, north, south, west or east, in an area that they had more control over, and they met the local community and the local authorities and basically worked within their own community to make change. So it worked better doing it that way.
Great. Thank you, Jayne. So I have another follow-up question since you're holding the mic. So how do you support transition for members who face challenges to engage due to limited resources? I think you probably has a lot of knowledge about that.
So if there's limited resources, what we do is try to create options for them, share information and help them wherever they are. We're always available as an association to either give advice if we can and support, or link them with someone else. So if, for example, a hotel's looking at a composting solution or something like that, we know not what everyone is doing, but we do know some hotels that are using one system, others that are doing a different system, and based on what they need, we can connect them with somebody who's already got a system in place, and they can ask their questions and do their inquiries. If they're looking for solar, we know some different contractors and some hotels that have this in place already and can meet with them and give them the support that they need. So that's the way that we can help them, not necessarily directly, but by linking different people with either contractors, suppliers, or other hotels, other personnel within hotels who can give advice.
Yeah, making the links and then give them different actual practical solutions.
Exactly.
Great. Chris, there's a question for you from our famous anonymous. So when will be the timeline for other Hilton properties in other countries to be certified?
We've done it, so in APAC we have 5 sub-regions, so Australasia being one of them. So we've kind of taken the lead in this space to get it done. Difficult for me to say where the other 4 sub-regions are. I think that probably somewhere like Japan will be the next one off the rank. Very honestly, there's different parts of the world that are at different stages in terms of importance. Like we just spoke earlier, that Europe is quite advanced compared to Australasia, and we're seeing what's coming towards us. I think Japan probably the next one off the ranks. Southeast Asia possibly a little bit further behind that. So couldn't tell you really the exact timeline. I think we're hoping that, again, we're inspiring the other sub-regions that it's not that difficult. We're very fortunate to have been on this journey about the same time as GSTC and have good systems in place, so the transition to certify it shouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah, great. I have actually follow-up questions for that, Chris. I think you mentioned about the lifestyle. I think it's a very brilliant platform, but you also mentioned that different property have different kind of starting point, like different probably priorities as well. So thinking about sustainability, because looking at a hotel in a very water stressed region with another hotels in a very different environments, probably the challenges are different. So do you have any different pathway for single properties in different regions, or do they also face for the same goals like getting certification or saving the energy and water?
I don't think the focus for the company isn't really on certification at the moment. And as I said, where we're lucky is we have the systems in place.
Yeah.
So the step from us moving from a Hilton setup to a GSTC certification, it's not a large gap. So and that's why I went ahead with it in Australasia, because I didn't think, I thought it was quite possible, and the gap was quite small because we have that backup behind us.
Yeah.
And that's global. So hotels in Southeast Asia are as far away from certifying as we
have
were.
the data already.
Yeah. It's just a matter of them deciding to do it, to be honest.
Great. Okay, thank you, Grace. So we have another question from Tully. So do you have any KPI for your procurement team to achieve social and environmental impact goals? I think that's Inge. Do you want to take that?
Yeah, happy to take it. Of course, procurement is key. Procurement is essential in making, for example, your scope 3 environmental footprint, or sometimes your water footprint. Think about outsourced laundry, of making those footprints minimal. So procurement is key. There are systems to measure the maturity of suppliers when it comes to ESG. One of them is EcoVadis, for example. We use EcoVadis for our suppliers. We started with the central suppliers who are all having a score and a rating. Now we have rolled it out to the area suppliers, and now we are going to the material, so the most important categories for our local suppliers as well. So we have a rating, we have a visibility, we know how these suppliers evolve through the rating of an EcoVadis. There's other suppliers as well. And of course, with our verified net zero hotels, the engagement with the suppliers, that became a whole other thing, that grew to a whole other level, because we set a target to decarbonize as much as we could on scope 3 emissions. So then you're in a whole other ballpark. Then you start measuring your scope 3 for the first time.
Yeah.
You know where everything comes from. You have real conversations with your key suppliers. So that's the new journey we are on, I would say.
Cool. So scope 3 is very difficult to measure. Everybody knows about that. That's very great to hear that you're also measuring that scope 3 doing the net zero. I have another question here is, what are the factors you consider when choosing the certifier for your hotel chains? Fraser,
I can speak towards that.
Sure.
So I spent, when I was in Singapore, just talking to all of them, to be honest with you. For me, it was important to have an auditor in Australasia, which I didn't find. But there's a lot of contributing factors. I think that they're all quite similar, to be honest with you. And it's really about meeting up with them and developing that relationship, because it's an ongoing relationship. It's not just a one-off. So it's really important that you get someone who's available to you or in region, I think, as much as possible. I think that's probably the biggest consideration that I would think of if I had to choose again.
Sure. Fraser, do you have anything on that? Yeah.
I think that the availability and the regional environment is very important. So not only are you understanding what each other is talking about, but also you're able to have that engagement and that relationship, because as you say, Chris, it's ongoing. It's not a one-off. It's like our GSTC certification. We don't just get certified and go, phew, that's over for another year. We have to keep living it. We have to keep it involving it and keep it in our internal cultures to make sure that it exists and is kept alive.
Yeah. Jayne?
It's fairly new for us in Phuket, but I can tell you 3 trends that I've noticed, not necessarily in this order. The first one is speak the local language. So having an auditor who can communicate in Thai for us. Pricing is important and probably goes to number 1 at the end of the day. And the third one is that they are available and able to come to the property and make appointments and other things. So it's how far away they are physically and what's involved in them coming to your property. They seem to be the three things.
Thank you very much. I think we will take the last question before we close up the panel. So the last question, I'm thinking it's also, because I think everybody has a sustainability department in 3 of your organizations, but there is a question here. Would you recommend the hotel establish a sustainability department with dedicated staff?
I'll take that as a hotelier, because
Yeah.
these guys are all regional. It's probably not very realistic, to be honest with you, in an operating hotel, from my opinion, because they're not going to... I was just sharing a moment ago that we've hired someone new for sustainability for Asia Pac, which was a surprise. So, and again, I think it comes back to it needs to be in the culture. So all the staff members need to be involved. You can't just have, okay, that's the department, they're going to take care of it. It really needs to be everyone.
True.
So it's great if you can, but I think the reality on the ground is it's probably not going to happen at hotel level.
It is, you're right, Chris, and it's an ROI, isn't it? You know, the most important thing in our hotels are our customers, are our guests.
Yeah.
But the focus, of course, is on revenue. Some hotels don't have revenue teams. So it just comes down to what's available within the team and where you can see that benefit, the most benefit for your hotel.
Inge, do you want to?
I just want to say one thing we really do is that we give the sustainability champions the chance to learn and grow. And for many of them, it's seen as a career opportunity.
True.
So that is really something to keep in mind. Don't isolate it, make it part of your team, but identify also maybe talents in your team who can grow through taking on the responsibility of sustainability in the hotel, because you will get to interact with the GM and with the region and manage projects.
That's a great point, and it is
Yes.
a new career. Yeah,
Yes.
and yeah.
Great, great. Very inspiring. Thank you very much, everybody. So we all heard from our great panelists today. So sustainability is a different journey for everyone, but actually we need to really start the journey right now. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.
A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.